Well, good day, my friends. We are coming to you from Washington, D.C. today. Back for more of the National Museum of American History. Good day, my friends. We are coming to you from the Smithsonian Institute of American History, and that is a giant Star-Spangled Banner piece of artwork. How about that to start your day? Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. So I thought what we would do today is check out the American Presidency and First Ladies section. A glorious burden to who? The president or the people that have to put up with them? Hey yo! I love it. You see the history of the White House, the inaugurations, which is the people's house. People should not forget that. Oh boy. What do we have here? We have a coach of some sort here. But whose? Okay, so this was purchased by Ulysses S. Grant during his first term in the White House and rode in it for his second inauguration in 1873. Oh, that is cool. I just found President Washington's first telescope for his personal use during the war. And then this was George Washington's portable writing case. It'd carry his papers, pens, ink, sealing wax for the Revolutionary War. Very cool. I'm a big Washington fan. These are kind of like mini portraits. These are from 1793. John Trumbull painted these cabinet portraits of George and Martha Washington, and she hung them in their bedroom in Mount Vernon. Here we have some silver-plated candlesticks and a bread basket used by the Washingtons in the presidential mansion, because they weren't trying to be, you know, wealthy or anything. George Washington just believed that you had to, if you were the president, you were the figurehead of the country, which meant you had to present yourself a certain way to everyone, including all the leaders you would meet and everything. So that was why he wanted an opulent mansion for the White House. And this chair was also in the presidential mansion when Washington was there, made by a cabinet maker. And then it says this was used for Washington to work on his farewell address by light and brass candelabrum with reflector, so he could write at night. This is the overcoat and the hat that Grover Cleveland wore to his inauguration, his first, 1885. And some Truman banners back there. Oh, that's cool. That is President Thomas Jefferson's polygraph, made by Hawkins and Peel, patented by Hawkins in 1803. A polygraph's pen creates simultaneous copies of a writer's manuscript. Jefferson acquired his first polygraph in 1804 and suggested improvements. Prolific letter writer, Jefferson called the polygraph the finest invention of the present age. Pretty cool invention. Dwight D. Eisenhower's State of the Union address, his reading copy. That is a letter seal that was used by James K. Polk to seal letters that he wrote in the White House, made out of ivory. That's Chester A. Arthur's onyx and brass pen stand, believed to have been used during his presidency on loan from the White House. Here's a political poster of William McKinley. Vote for Hoover. Hold your jokes, but that is the briefcase of Bill Clinton used during his Clinton administration, referred to as the football, carried in the shadows of the president. It contained materials that might be needed in case of a military emergency. The military uniform of Dwight D. Eisenhower, who of course became president. The Supreme Commander, World War II, the Allied. By the end of the war, Eisenhower was one of the most popular figures in America. New York City honored him in 1945 with a victory parade.
Alejandro, do you want to go? No. Okay.
That was a gift to President Theodore Roosevelt. It was called Silver Junk. It was presented to him in 1906 by Empress Dowager Suhai of China. The gift followed China's forced acceptance of an open-door policy for trade with the United States. There's a beaded pouch of Ulysses S. Grant. Impressed by the Imperial Guard's pageantry of European guards, attempted to create a more formal atmosphere for his own state occasion. He had these uniforms designed in 1970 for the White House Secret Service Uniform Division. That makes sense, especially with the WH up there. White House definitely makes sense. That gold and white thing on the left is actually a telegraph key made for William Howard Taft to use in the White House to open the Alaska-Yukon Exposition in 1909. It was used again by President Woodrow Wilson when he opened the Panama Canal in 1913. The marble slab is set with gold nuggets from the Klondike region. And then the silver piece over here, that is Ulysses S. Grant's, used for ceremonies. These gloves were actually a gift sent to Abraham Lincoln. They were made of buckskin and they were sent on April 11th, 1865. They arrived to the White House just days after his assassination. That horn right there, that cornet, that is named the President's Own. It was named by Thomas Jefferson and it was used for 200 years at the White House. Some presidential china. You have a couple of presidential lighters and matchbooks. Presidential greeting card. I didn't even have to look to know who these chaps belonged to. Those were Rough Rider Teddy Roosevelt's. That guy was a real piece of work. Worn on his Dakota Territory Ranch from 1884 to 1886. And then check this out. That's really neat. That CBS microphone. I want to talk for a few minutes with the people of the United States about banking. So began on March 12, 1933, the first of about 30 informal fireside chats. FDR used this microphone for his fireside chats. So down here in this brown little pamphlet looking thing is actually a compass used by William Clark. It's one of the few things left from their expedition that Thomas Jefferson had organized and sent Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to explore the Missouri River and routes to the Pacific Ocean. Louisiana Purchase made the journey more critical. The spring of 1884, spring of 1804, the Corps of Discovery set out from St. Louis to survey the Northwest United States. Cool to see something is still left. There, you can take your fun pick at the podium. So if you heard like an enormous amount of chaos for the pretty much the entirety of the video, it was kids up here giving presidential speeches. Now let's go see some cool belongings. I see a dress in here. That was Jacqueline Kennedy's. She actually wore this in 1961 for a reception with the Latin American diplomats and leaders of Congress. That was a replica of the master key to the White House, and it was given to Harry Truman after the completion of renovations in 1952. That sandstone baluster was from the White House. from about 1817. There you can see President George Washington surveying the building of the White House in that picture. These silk pajamas and slippers belong to Warren G. Harding, and even on the pocket, even though it's a little hard to see, had his monogram in there. Those were his brown slippers. Wore these elegant silk pajamas while he was president. Had them made in New York City and monogrammed on the left pocket. This chessboard, the table and chessboard, was from about 1825, used by John Quincy Adams. Amazing craftsmanship, huh? There's Herbert Hoover's fishing reel, deep sea fishing reel. Looks like Bill Clinton's saxophone is supposed to be here and it's gone. We've got a wooden bowling pin from the White House used during Harry Truman's administration. Truman installed the first bowling alley in the White House in 1947. That's Warren G. Harding's baseball pass for the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs in 1921. The basketball is there because it says shortly after taking office, President Barack Obama had the White House tennis court adapted so it could be used for both tennis and basketball. And the basketball is used by the president, as well as his guests, which probably include Shaq. I know he used to have pro basketball players coming to hang out and play against him. Those are Grover Cleveland's trout flies for fishing. His name embroidered on the case. So this dollhouse was Jimmy Carter's daughter Amy's. So she used to play with this 1979 Cape Cod style dollhouse with a 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue mailbox right up there in the front. And then the doll was Sally. It belonged to Mary Louisa Adams, granddaughter of John Quincy Adams. The White House made that doll for her. And this dollhouse was from 1896, made by the White House gardener and given to the children of Grover Cleveland during his second administration. Good way of keeping your job, dude. And then the paint set down here was used by Teddy Roosevelt's son Archie in 1903. White House is known for their Easter celebrations, and here's some wooden eggs painted from different years. Some from Ronald Reagan's administration, Clinton, Bush. That mailbag was from the White House mailroom from the 1990s. There's a presidential baseball signed by George Bush. And these are handmade ornaments from Betty Ford and Gerald's Christmas tree. That's a crazy hat that was worn to Lucy Johnson's wedding. Doesn't say, but I assume Lucy Johnson was the daughter of Lyndon Johnson, I would guess, right? President Franklin Pierce's fruit basket from 1853, and a gravy boat owned by John and Abigail Adams.
And then William
Lincoln's hat.
Finally, John F. Kennedy. Questions about this?
Secret Service came in after
Secret Service. But actually, that's a very good question. He did have a guard. The guard was missing in action. I believe it was the very first day for this guard to be on duty, and there's speculation he was next door drinking at the saloon or something.
See that original flag up in there?
So there's the
Inside the case. That is pretty amazing to see the actual hat that he wore to Ford's Theater that night when he was shot by John Wilkes Booth. That is crazy.
Here's the other.
But they have it. That's what this is. There's a wanted ad for the people responsible for the assassination of Lincoln. Here were the conspirators. Basically what it was John Wilkes Booth just could not handle the world that Lincoln was creating, and since he was a popular actor, he was able to get supporters that just wanted to be friends with him because he was, you know, imagine if Tom Cruise was trying to get you to join their side, or, you know, somebody like that, somebody that, famous actor, and you just wanted to befriend him. Those people became his conspirators. They were going to help originally kidnap Lincoln, and then when Booth went to the theater to pick up his mail that morning, they told him that Lincoln was coming to the show that night. So he went up to the box and he kind of like whittled out a little piece of wood on the floor so that he could jam a bracing in there to block the door later, and that's basically what he did. He came back while the show was going on. So Booth ended up showing a little card or something that he had to the guard outside the door, letting him know that basically he was okay to go in. And he went in and basically, you know, shot President Lincoln. He was waiting for a specific laugh in the show to do it. That was John Wilkes Booth right there. He was the shooter. And he ended up with a broken ankle from that jump. So once the conspirators were captured, iron keys locked their prison cells. And these were what bound them. And this is showing all the different roads that have been named after presidents. Most of them probably in their hometowns. That's an image of William Henry Harrison on his deathbed, because he was the first to die in office. Here's an image of James Garfield on his deathbed, as doctors struggled to understand the extent of Garfield's wounds. Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, used this machine that he called an induction balance to try to locate the bullet. When found, the machine was to send a sound to the attached telephone receiver. Despite attempts on July 26th and August 1st of 1881, Bell could not situate the bullet. So that red chair is George Washington's chair. It says after his presidency he went back home and retired, and this chair was not far from his bedside the rest of his life and before he died. And there's some other things over here. Surveyor's compass given to George Washington, because that's what he that was his job at one point, as a surveyor. He was known to have surveyed and resurveyed his own land until the month before he died. And that's the golf bag of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Watergate and the war in Vietnam. That I was able to restore the integrity of the White House after it had...
These were owned and donated by the Grants, Ulysses S. Grant's family. He received these objects while on tour. The gold casket was presented to them from the city of London. This was a vase from China. That is a ballot box. Who'd have thought something so simple like a ballot box with a slot on top that you just put your vote in could be so difficult, but somehow we've managed to screw it up for everyone. Let's go see the First Lady section. They're like a whole room of their clothing. This first one is Carolyn Harrison. That was her dress. And then this green one back here was Eleanor Roosevelt's inaugural gown. And then this one in front, Nancy Reagan. And they have a lot of stuff in here. This floor-length green dress was Lou Henry Hoover's day dress. Herbert Hoover's wife. And then says also that this was hers. That red one. It says that this yellow right here in front with pearl necklace, right there, this belonged to Mrs. Kennedy, Jacqueline Kennedy. And then this belonged to Julia Grant. It's her evening gown in the 1870s, Ulysses S. Grant's wife. And then Miss Edith Wilson, Woodrow Wilson's wife, wore this. This floor-length one is Lucy Hayes, Miss Rutherford B. Hayes. And this red one was Mamie Eisenhower's. Then this blue was Mrs. Coolidge, Grace Coolidge. And as was this one. This blue dress is Jill Biden's. They have a photo of her wearing it over here. As well as her mask. And then the white, which is kind of fancy, especially down at the bottom. That's also Jill Biden's. I think all the ones in this center case are reserved for whoever the current First Lady is. So that's also Jill Biden's. That's Barbara Bush's inaugural gown from 1989. Nancy Reagan's inaugural gown from 1981. And Rosalind Smith Carter inaugural gown from 1977. And then the dress here on the left was Hillary Clinton's. And the red one was Laura Bush. This one's Melania Trump. And this one is Mrs. Obama. These are Dolly Madisons that were saved from the fire. That's really cool. Thank you, Dolly Madison. These are the dresses of Lady Bird Johnson. And they have it presented in the green room, the White House green room. These belong to Mary Todd Lincoln, that dress, as well as this. And her coffee and tea service set. And then these are belongings of Edith Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt's wife. Wow, they have tons and tons of stuff you could check out if you have the time. Dishes, all that kind of stuff. Each First Lady has kind of a cabinet like this with personal belongings, photos, things like that, but I was just kind of like interested in the clothing, so that's what I showed you today. Well, my friends, that is the American President and First Lady section of the Smithsonian. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. Thank you all for watching. I hope you ever make the DC, it's free to come in. Please do. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.